Sitting down to brainstorm your next move right now is a waste of your time. A fogged out brain rejects every option you hand it, so the list never goes anywhere. I need you to hear that as good news because you've probably been seeing it as proof that something's broken in you. You sit down to figure out what's next. You open that beautiful notebook you bought. You make those little columns, pros on one side, cons on the other, and 30 minutes later, you've got 3 sad bullet points and a stomach ache, and the loudest voice in your head says, see, you don't even know what you want anymore. Friend, you do know what you want. Your brain just can't reach it right now. Those are 2 completely different problems, and we have spent years treating the second one like it's the first. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly why the reaching stopped working, and you're going to have a way to get to your answer that doesn't require you to force a single idea. But first, let me describe your week, and you tell me how close I get. Sunday afternoon lands, and something in your chest tightens before you've even done anything. You've got a browser tab open with job listings you've looked at maybe 40 times and applied to 0 of them, and you keep it open like a chore you'll get to. You won't, by the way, not like this at least, and you know it, and that makes it worse. Someone who loves you asks the very simple version of the question, what do you actually want to do? And you feel your face do the thing, the blank thing. You hear yourself say, I don't know, I just know it can't be this. And you watch a flicker of worry cross their face. So now you're managing their worry on top of your own. Not sad exactly, stuck. Like a car with the engine running and the wheels not catching. There's effort happening, it's just that nothing's moving. And the cruelest part is the story you've built on top of it. That everyone else got a memo about what they wanted and somehow you missed it. That you used to be ambitious and something in you died. That maybe you're just lazy now or broken or just way far past it. I want to take that whole story away from you today because it's wrong. And it's costing you the very thing you need to get out. There's one question I ask in a first session, and it sounds almost too simple. And then I watch people go completely quiet. Their eyes drift to a corner of the room, and they can't find a word. That silence isn't a problem for me. It's information. It tells me almost exactly how empty the tank is. I'm going to give you that question before we're done, and I will tell you what your answer or your silence actually means. Now, once you see what's actually happening in your head, the shame starts draining out of the whole thing. Your brain has a strategist. It's the part that imagines futures that don't exist yet, that weighs options, and that holds 2 ideas side by side and compares them. It's the part you're trying to use every time you sit down with that notebook. And it's expensive to run. It needs fuel, steady sleep, and quiet to do its job. So what happens when none of those things have been true for months? Well, your system decides the strategist is a luxury it can't afford. Stress hormones go up and stay up, and control shifts away from the planner and over to the older, faster part of you that only cares about getting through today. Survival does not care about your 5-year plan. Survival cares about the next 2 hours. I want to slow this down because I think this is where people shame themselves. You're not losing your edge. Your brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do under threat. The problem is that the threat never turns off, so neither does the override. A neuroscientist at Yale named Amy Arnsten has spent her entire career showing that long-term uncontrollable stress physically weakens the connections that let you hold a thought and build onto it. The wiring gets quieter. And researchers at Stanford put people under stress and then asked them to plan new routes through a space. The stressed group got measurably worse at it because stress blocked their ability to use memory to picture a path they hadn't taken before. Picture a path you haven't taken before. That's the exact thing you've been sitting down and demanding of yourself every Sunday. A brand new future, vivid, on command, from the one part of your brain that stress shuts down first. And then think about when you're actually trying to do this. Not first thing in the morning when you're fresh. It's usually at the end of the day that already took everything. You made 40 decisions at work, managed your inbox, faked the hell out of it in 3 meetings you didn't care about, and now you're asking yourself the biggest question of your life with whatever's left. Of course it blanks. It would blank for me. It would blank for anyone. When you sit down to plan your way out and nothing comes, you're not failing. You're asking the most expensive part of your brain to do its single most expensive task while running on empty. That's a math problem. And math problems have math solutions. You don't need to become a different person. You need to give an exhausted system what it actually runs on in the right order. So let's do that now. First, we've got to lower the bar. way down. You've been telling yourself you need a vision, a calling, a clear picture of the next 10 years. Throw that out the window. You don't need a vision right now. You need one true data point. Just one. We're going from what should I do with my life to what's one honest thing I noticed this week. That's a question a tired brain can actually answer. And every real change I've watched happen started there, not with a lightning bolt. Second, and this is the step that people skip, so I want you to listen closely on this one. Before you try to figure out anything, you get a little bit of your baseline back. Just a little. I'm not talking about a spa day. I'm just talking about the boring physical stuff that puts fuel in the strategist. Some actual real sleep, maybe even a few nights in a row. A walk outside where you leave the phone in your pocket. One weekend where you're not secretly working. The thinking part of your brain runs on glucose, sleep, and downtime. And until it has those, no amount of journaling produces an answer. This is the plan. The rest of it actually depends on this. The trap is trying to do the figuring out step before the get some fuel back step. They sit in the fog and demand a map, and when no map comes, they decide the problem is them. It was never them. It was sequence. Fuel first, always. Then the map gets easy to read once the lights come back on. Third, once you've got a little fuel in the tank, we don't brainstorm, we audit. For one regular, plain, ordinary week, you carry a note in your pocket and you write down 2 things every day. One thing that drained you and one thing that gave you the smallest flicker of energy. That's it. Notice I didn't ask you to invent anything. A fogged brain is terrible at inventing, but still very good at noticing. You're not building a future out of thin air. You're collecting evidence from the life you're already living. By Friday, you'll have a small pile of real clues, and clues from your actual week beat any personality quiz on the internet. Fourth, let's deal with the fear underneath all of this, because when people picture leaving, they picture one thing, a cliff. A single, terrifying leap into a void with no income and no title and no idea. No wonder you freeze. Nobody really jumps off a cliff on purpose. There are really 4 doors out of a job, and only one of them is really the cliff. Door 1, the same kind of role somewhere the air is better, a different company, a different manager, or a different culture. Door 2 is your same skills pointed at a different role. The ones you've already used for years. Door 3 is staying in your field, but sliding into a different function inside it. And door 4 is the clean break, the real change of direction. 4 doors. You've been standing in front of the 4th one, terrified, forgetting that the other 3 exist. And you don't have to leap through any of them this week. You just walk up and knock. 1 conversation per door. 1 coffee with someone who went through it. That's a step a tired person can take. A cliff isn't. Now, the question I promised you at the top, here it is. Before this job taught you to want less, what did you used to be good at that you actually liked? Not what you're best at, not the thing that got you promoted into misery, what you liked. Sit with that for a minute. Now, if you just went blank, if nothing came, I want you to hear me very clearly. That blank is not proof the well is empty. That blank is the fog. Write the question on a piece of paper and come back to it after a week of sleep and walks and that little audit. The answer doesn't live in the fog. It shows up when the tank has something in it. I've watched it happen too many times to doubt that. Okay, 5th is we go find your value, because burnout does something very sneaky. It doesn't just drain your energy, it erases your entire read on your own worth. From inside the fog, you genuinely can't see what you're good at anymore. It all looks like nothing, like anyone could do it. So we stop trusting the fog to tell you who you are. You go to 3 people who've actually worked with you and you ask one question. What would you come to me for? Then you write down what they say and you believe them instead of the fog. That list is the truest picture of you available right now, and you didn't have to invent a word of it. And 6th is our last move. This is the one that breaks the whole thing open. You take 1 small reversible step before you feel ready, because clarity doesn't come before motion. It comes after it. You've been waiting to feel certain enough to act. That certainty is going to arrive on the other side of the first small action, which is the exact opposite of what you've been told your whole life. Send that one message. Take the first coffee. Sign up for that one thing. You're not deciding your future. You are gathering one more real data point, and motion is what turns fog into a picture. I've been working with a client who couldn't name a single thing she wanted. Not one single thing. She was sure that that meant something was deeply wrong with her. We didn't do a personality test. We didn't build a 5-year plan. First of all, she slept. She did the drain and spark audit for a few weeks. She had 3 coffees, 1 per door. And then about 6 weeks in, she said a sentence out loud that she'd never said before. And the thing was, she heard herself say it, and then she went, oh, that was the move. Not a lightning bolt, not a quiz result. She talked and slept and walked her way to a self that she could actually hear again. The meaning came from the motion. So here's what I want you to walk out of this episode believing about yourself, because it's true and the fog has been lying to you. You did not lose your drive. You spent it. You kept delivering long after the smart move was to stop. You carried things most people would have put down, and you're paying for that now in fog and blank pages and Sunday dread. A person who can run that far past empty and still show up is exactly the kind of person who builds something good on the other side. That engine's still in there. It's just out of fuel, and fuel you can fix. If this gave you 1 ounce of relief, the most useful thing you can do is to follow the show so that the next one finds you without you having to go looking, because looking is hard right now, and I get that. And your assignment this week isn't to plan your life. Please actually don't plan your life this week. Just do 3 things. Sleep like it's the job, take that walk without the phone, and write down the one thing that drained you and the one thing that gave you a flicker. That's your whole assignment. It's step 1. And step 1 is the only step you ever have to see clearly. If you know someone staring at a blank notebook right now, hating themselves for it, send them this episode. It might be the thing that lets them put the pen down and go to sleep. Now, I'll see you next time. Take care and make good choices, friend.